The sun was high over the rolling hills of Ashford, Kent, casting a golden glow through the windows of Tom Harper's modern semi-detached house. It was Father's Day, June 2025, and I, James Harper, stood at the doorstep, my best tweed blazer neatly pressed, holding a hand-carved wooden train for my grandson Max and a scrapbook of family photos for my granddaughter Ellie. At 68, I felt a flicker of pride. I'd always been there for my son, Tom, and his family, and today, I expected a warm celebration, a rare moment to feel appreciated. The door swung open, and Ellie, 7, squealed, "Granddad." Her hug was tight, her curls bouncing against my chest. Max, 10, gave me a shy grin before darting back to his video game. Tom, my 42-year-old son, offered a quick nod, his eyes distracted. "Dad, good you made it," he said, already turning away. Clara, his wife, emerged from the kitchen, her smile tight. "James, come in. We've got a surprise for you." The living room was crowded with Clara's parents, her brother, and a few neighbors, all sipping Prosecco and chatting loudly. I felt out of place, like a guest at someone else's party. Clara handed me a blue envelope. "This is from all of us, James. Read it out loud, yeah?" Her voice had an edge, and Tom smirked, leaning against the wall. I opened the card, expecting warmth. The front had a child's drawing of a car, Max's work, I guessed. I cleared my throat and read, my voice steady at first. "Roses are red, violets are blue." I paused, my breath catching. "You're always around, Dad, what else can you do? Step back, old man, let us live our lives free. Signed, your family, who needs some space, you see." The room exploded in laughter. Clara covered her mouth, but her eyes gleamed with amusement. Tom chuckled, saying, "Lighten up, Dad, it's just a bit of fun." Even Max and Ellie giggled, caught up in the adults' mirth. My face burned. I forced a smile, but my hands shook as I set the card down. Clara leaned in, her tone syrupy. "James, we've been thinking, maybe a retirement home would be better for you. You'd have people your age, proper care." The words hit like a punch. A retirement home? I'd been their rock, financially, emotionally, always there. I mumbled something about needing air and stepped onto the patio, the laughter still echoing behind me. My heart cracked, not just from the card but from the realization that my own son saw me as a burden. A life of sacrifice. Back in my small terraced house that evening, I sat in my worn armchair, the one where I'd read bedtime stories to Tom decades ago. The card lay on the coffee table, its cruel words staring up at me. I poured a glass of whiskey, my hands still trembling, and let the memories flood in. When my wife, Sarah, died 15 years ago, Tom was 27, just starting his career. I was 53, a widower working long shifts at the steel mill to keep us afloat. I'd promised Sarah I'd give Tom everything she'd dreamed for him. When he wanted to study business at university, I sold my vintage Triumph motorcycle, my pride and joy, for £8,000 to cover his tuition. "Dad, you didn't have to," he'd said, but his eyes shone with gratitude. When Tom married Clara, I paid £15,000 for their wedding's catering, wanting them to have a day to remember. "You're too generous, Dad," Tom had said, clapping my shoulder. When they bought their house in Ashford, I gave them £30,000 for the deposit, emptying my savings. "We'll pay you back," Clara promised, but they never did. For years, I was their safety net. When Tom's marketing job hit a rough patch in 2020, I sent £500 a month to cover their mortgage. I babysat Ellie and Max, walking 3 miles to their house at dawn to get them ready for school while Clara worked long shifts as a nurse. I fixed their leaky pipes, mowed their lawn, and bought laptops for the kids, £1,500, when they started secondary school. "You're a lifesaver, Dad," Tom used to say. But the gratitude faded. 3 years ago, Clara started calling my advice interference. When I suggested Max see a doctor for his asthma, she snapped, "We're the parents, James." Tom stopped inviting me to family dinners, claiming they were small gatherings. I found out about Max's 9th birthday party from a neighbor's Facebook post, 20 guests, none of them me. Last Christmas, I spent £2,000 on gifts, a bike for Max, a tablet for Ellie, a watch for Tom, perfume for Clara. On Christmas Eve, Clara said, "Put them under the tree, James. We'll open everything tomorrow." My gifts were lost in the pile, and no one acknowledged them. Worse, I gave Tom my late father's pocket watch, a family heirloom. "Nice, Dad," he said, tossing it into a drawer without a second glance. That night, I cried alone, clutching Sarah's old scarf. 2 months ago, I caught pneumonia. Bedridden, I called Tom for help. "Dad, we're swamped. Clara's got double shifts, and I'm traveling for work." "Ask a neighbor," he said. My neighbor, Maggie, 70, brought me soup and checked on me daily. My own son never called back. The hidden truth. The Father's Day card wasn't just a prank, it was a mirror showing me my place in their lives. I wasn't their father or granddad, I was their ATM, their handyman, their inconvenience. But they didn't know the whole story. 10 years ago, my Uncle George died and left me a cottage in St. Ives, Cornwall, a charming stone house by the sea. I'd never visited, letting a property management company rent it out. The income, £1,200 a month, went into a savings account I never touched, now holding £180,000. My Aunt Margaret, who passed childless, left me £50,000 in investments, which had grown to £200,000 in bonds and stocks. Tom and Clara thought I lived off my modest pension, scraping by. They didn't know I'd been funding their life out of love, not necessity. That night, the humiliation turned to clarity. I wasn't a burden, I was their backbone. I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account. Over the past 5 years, I'd given Tom and Clara £62,000, £30,000 for the house, £15,000 for the wedding, £12,000 in monthly help, £1,500 for the kids' laptops, £3,500 for car repairs and small expenses. Meanwhile, I wore the same tweed blazer, walked to the shops to save petrol, lived in the same cramped house. Something snapped. I wasn't going to be their doormat anymore. The next morning, I woke with a fire I hadn't felt since my 30s. I dressed in my best shirt, combed my gray hair, and drove to the bank. My financial advisor, Mr. Patel, raised an eyebrow. "James, you're early. Everything all right?" "I'm making changes," I said firmly. Over 2 hours, I cancelled the £500 monthly transfers to Tom's account, closed our joint savings account, used only by them, and moved £50,000 from my investments to my checking account for immediate use. "Are you sure?" Mr. Patel asked. "These are big moves." "I've never been surer," I replied. Next, I visited my solicitor, Mrs. Langley, who'd known me since Tom was a boy. "I want to rewrite my will," I said. She adjusted her glasses, concerned. "James, this is drastic." "Are you certain?" "I've spent 68 years being certain for others. Now it's for me." I redirected my estate £380,000 in savings and investments, plus the Cornwall cottage, to a charity for widowed parents. I set up a trust for Ellie and Max, accessible at 25, but only if they maintain genuine contact with me, not out of obligation. "You're cutting Tom out completely?" Mrs. Langley asked. "He cut himself out," I said, signing the papers with a steady hand. At the travel agency, I booked a first-class train ticket to St. Ives for Friday. "Holiday, sir?" the agent asked. "Liberation," I corrected, smiling. The letters. Back home, I sat at my oak desk, pulling out cream letterhead I'd bought years ago for Sarah's birthday cards. I wrote 2 letters, my hand steady, my heart resolute. To Tom. "My son, when you read this, I'll be in St. Ives, living in the cottage I inherited from Uncle George, which you didn't know existed. For years, I gave you everything £62,000, my time, my love. But you turned me into a joke, a burden to discard. The Father's Day card was the final straw. I've cancelled the monthly payments and closed our joint account. My inheritance now goes to those who value family. Your children can access a trust at 25, but only if they choose a real relationship with me. Don't call for money or favors. If you want your father back, prove you see me as more than an ATM, Dad." To Clara. "Clara, I treated you like a daughter, but you saw me as an inconvenience. You didn't know I own a cottage in Cornwall or have £380,000 in savings. I funded your life, house, wedding, emergencies out of love, not weakness. You laughed at me on Father's Day and suggested a care home. Now, you'll stand on your own. I'm starting a new life. Don't mistake my kindness for frailty again. James. I sealed the letters and left them on the kitchen table, where Tom would find them when he inevitably came looking for me. Friday morning, I packed a single suitcase, clothes, Sarah's scarf, a photo of Tom as a boy. I drove to Ashford International Station, boarded the train, and watched Kent's green hills fade into Cornwall's rugged coast. At St. Ives, I stepped off, the sea air sharp and salty. The cottage was more beautiful than I'd imagined, whitewashed stone, a garden overgrown with wildflowers, waves crashing nearby. I spent the first day cleaning, my hands busy but my heart light. Maggie, my old friend from the pub, had texted, "You're braver than you know, James. Live for you now." I smiled, planting lavender in the garden, something I'd always wanted to do. That evening, I sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sea gold. For the first time in years, I felt whole. Not a burden, not an ATM, but James Harper, father, widower, man. I wasn't alone. I was free. A week later, my phone buzzed. A letter from Ellie slipped through the cottage's letterbox by the property manager, who'd been given it by Tom. "Granddad, I miss you. Why did you go?" I didn't laugh at the card. "I love you." My eyes stung. I wrote back, inviting her to visit when she was ready, promising stories and seaside walks. Tom called once, his voice tense. "Dad, what's this about Cornwall? You can't just leave." I didn't answer. The letters said enough. If he wanted me back, he'd have to earn it, not with money, but with respect. As I sipped tea on my porch, the waves whispering, I realized something. For 68 years, I taught my family to take me for granted. Now, I was teaching them something new, my worth. And in doing so, I'd learned it myself. Moral of the story ****. Never underestimate the quiet strength of a person who has been through life's storms. True power isn't shown through anger or wealth, it's revealed through dignity, patience, and wisdom. In the end, those who betray kindness often destroy only themselves, while truth and grace always rise above betrayal. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps.